Hello boyos, Rich Boy J here back in with another video, and this is going to be episode 28 of Your Questions Answered. Your Questions Answered is a Q&A series that I do here on this channel. If you want to see your questions answered in one of these videos, just leave a comment in the comment section, make sure it's Lego, Star Wars, or Lego Star Wars related, and then check back next week to see if you made the cut. Before I get into the video, I do want to say special thanks to the classy Barioni X for making that little intro. I loved seeing myself as Darth Vader in Rogue One. That was pretty cool. If you guys have a custom intro that you would like to contribute to the show, I definitely urge you to do so. The best way to get it to me is to send it as an unlisted YouTube video. Just give me the link, and if it's appropriate, I'll definitely put it in one of these videos. I've been having a little bit of a streak of people actually sending me this intro, so I definitely want to keep that up. So yeah, send me intros, guys. First question is going to come from Star Wars. He asks, I agree that there is too much negativity in the community at times since Star Wars is about love and passion. It's a good point. My question is there any vehicle, character, planet that you're disappointed Lego has yet to make from the new movies that you wish they had? I feel like they've been pretty good at giving us a holistic approach to all the vehicles. We've gotten all the important ones at least, but some of the lesser known ones that we haven't gotten that I would like to see is maybe the Libertine, the ship that they steal with DJ to get off of Canto Bight. That would actually be a pretty cool ship to have. I actually quite like the design of it. Other than that, maybe the Resistance transport that they actually take to create. I know that was like a rumored set that we were going to get. At this point, I doubt that we're going to get it, but I would love to have that set, and the minifigures would actually be pretty cool in that, because I do want to eventually get more of the Resistance figures from Last Jedi and The Force Awakens. As for characters, there are so many, honestly, a lot of them from Jakku. A lot of the background characters you see on Jakku would make great figures. The one that really sticks out to me is actually this boyo right here. His name is Crusher Rudown. I would love to see him as a figure. Some of the other ones I'd like to see are, of course, Captain Athano and Quiggled from Maz's Castle. I just love the design of Captain Athano. That's one of those characters I think that really translate well into a minifigure. I also would really like to get this First Order worker right here for scientific purposes. Next question comes from Captain Lego Star Wars. He asks, why does Greedo speak English in the Clone Wars, but in New Hope he speaks Rhodian? So he actually is speaking Huttese in A New Hope. I believe that's what the language is. The same language that Anakin for Episode 1, Sebulba, Watto, I think, speaks it as well. But yeah, it's kind of, it's the Hutt language is very popular on Tatooine. When I first saw him speaking English, it was really jarring to me. I was like, why is he speaking English? He does definitely not speak English in A New Hope. But the more you think about it, the more it would make sense that, you know, he's dealing with people that are obviously not from Tatooine and probably don't speak Huttese. Like when he goes and he captures the George Lucas character in the Clone Wars, it would make less sense if he was speaking Huttese and that the guy actually understood Huttese. So I can see why they would just have him speak basic there, because that's a common shared language in the Senate. So that actually does make sense when you really think about it. At first, I didn't think it made sense, but the more I rationalize it, it actually makes a lot of sense that they would do that. So good job there. On the opposite side, one that did not make sense to me is the fact that Zero the Hutt speaks basic. It just seems ridiculous, especially since he has the like New Orleans accent. Like Zero the Hutt as a whole is just a mess, and one of the really dark spots on the Clone Wars. Next question comes from Brick City Whips. He says, Jay, when are you going to put that Darth Revan minifigure to good use and build a Leviathan mock, or maybe an Ebon Hawk? So I actually had to look up the Leviathan because I actually had no clue what that is, but it is, of course, the big capital ship that Darth Malak uses in Knights of the Old Republic. I honestly wouldn't build that, but the Ebon Hawk is the one that I absolutely will build at some time. I actually have two Darth Revan figures. One of them is still in the bag, and one of them's on my minifig wall. I'm keeping that one in the bag for whenever I do my Ebon Hawk mock, and whenever I finish it up, I just want to open that poly bag and put my boy Darth Revan in that Ebon Hawk. So I will definitely do that at some point. Been doing like Lego projects nonstop over the past year, and I don't plan on stopping at any point, but the Ebon Hawk is definitely on my list. I love the ship, and I love Knights of the Old Republic, so it would totally make sense to do that. Next question comes from Lego Gamer 5502. He says, question, you started playing the complete saga on your channel. Have you gotten 100% completion, all mini kits, challenges, etc. for everything? Yes, I have actually. So I have 100%ed the complete saga twice. The first time I did it was on my PlayStation 2 when I got the game when I was younger, and I actually did it a couple years ago with one of my friends from college. We played through the complete saga, and we beat everything together, just kind of as a way for us to remember the game, and it was actually quite a great experience. What was not so great of an experience was when to have to 100% complete Lego Star Wars 2, the original trilogy. I feel like they maybe did a little bit too much with that game. For instance, you had to get True Jedi on free play as well as replay story, which was just the worst thing for me. It was just very monotonous having to do True Jedi twice for every single level. The other thing that was super annoying was the super story for episode 6 specifically. Episode 6's super story, I had to do it like 3 times in a row. I just remember sitting there as a kid, like trying to like just make it through this freaking super story. If you guys don't know what super story is, basically you play through each level in an episode, and you have to complete it in under an hour. Now, the episode 6 levels are by far the longest levels in the game. So whenever I finally beat it, I think my time was like 59 minutes and like 57 seconds, which was, obviously very close because you had to beat it under an hour. So as a child, that just really frustrated me. What I did not know is that they changed it in the complete saga where you didn't actually have to beat the time of an hour, you just had to do it. So my friend and I played it a couple of times before we realized, like, wait, we can just finish the level. It doesn't matter what time we finish it, and you'll still get credit for doing the super story as long as you do it. Don't necessarily have to do it under the time. So there's some Lego Star Wars knowledge for you guys. Next question is going to come from Hideous Sidious. Wait, hold on. I'm going to go ahead and fix that picture for you. There you go. Now he is Hideous Sidious. His question is, so as a kid, I'm basically broke and have to be careful with how I spend my cash. Do you think I should prioritize my mock building or buying current sets that I like the looks of? So without really thinking about how you feel about your collection and what things you actually enjoy with Lego, my advice would be to just get the sets. You will be able to build mocks for the rest of your life, but sets come and go, sets retire, they get more expensive after the fact. So if you have the ability to get sets that you really want right now for a retail price or even, a markdown at your local stores, I would say go for that, because you don't want to be in a position where you've gotten all these parts for mocks, but you don't have a lot of the sets and minifigures that have now gone up in price because they've been retired for a really long time. So just, without really knowing how you feel about your collection, I would say prioritize the sets. You, of course, can use parts from sets, so it really does benefit you both ways. Whereas if you just get parts for mocks, you're not getting the minifigures that come with them, and of course, you're not getting like a set. So I'd say definitely go for the set. But if you're just really interested in building mocks, maybe just look for, for parts for mocks, and then just buy minifigures from the sets that you like now. I don't know if you necessarily want to count on this, but of course Lego is always doing re-releases and updates to sets, so maybe it isn't the worst thing ever that you don't get the set you want right now, especially if it's something that they do constant re-releases of, like X-Wings or Y-Wings or TIE Fighters or something like that. Just really think about what you want out of your collection right now, which one is more fulfilling to you, and if it's a hard choice, I say just default, get the sets. The sets are going to retire. Like I said, you don't want to be paying tons of money down the line for sets that you really want it now, you could have gotten now for retail or even discounted. Next question comes from Ben the Brick Builder. He says, do you think the 20th anniversary figures will bring down the value of the original ones? I would say no. I think we've had many test cases with this. For example, when we first got the Boba Fett that came in the UCS Slave one, he had the arm printing and the leg printing, and that didn't really affect the price of the original Boba Fett with arm printing and leg printing. Obviously, these figures are far different from each other, but I think it's a reasonable test case to look at. Okay, if we get a newer, updated version of this figure, will it at all affect the original figure that it was? And obviously, it didn't with that. Same thing with the Lando from Cloud City that we got. I haven't really seen the newest Lando drop in price. I haven't really seen the older Lando drop in price, so once again, I don't think it's going to affect it. Now, these anniversary figures are a little bit of a different case because they are meant to represent those older figures, but there still are minor changes on it, namely the 20th anniversary print on the back, which I think is the biggest reason it's not going to drive down the prices of the old ones. But then there's also little subtle things. For example, there are colors that Lego used to make for those old figures, like the original dark gray, for example, that's used on the pilot Luke's hips. That will now be dark bluish gray, which is the color that Lego replaced it with around, I think, 2003, 2004. And the other example is the brown color. Back in the day, when the original Cloud City Lando was made, Lego used the color they called brown. It was replaced with reddish brown. So the new Lando 20th anniversary will use that reddish brown color on his face, hands, and his chest. So in those ways, there are subtle differences that I think will kind of keep those original figures safe in regards to the price that they command. The only thing that I think that will be affected and it really will depend on if Lando's cape is the original or if it's not. If that cape on the Lando figure is the same that we got in that original Cloud City set, I think that'll actually significantly impact the price of it. Like, even if it doesn't do so directly, the cape is the most expensive part of that figure. So if it is the original cape and not the like cloth one that Lego does now, then you'll be in pretty good shape to find one of those Lando figures, the older ones, without the cape for a pretty cheap price, because they don't go for, super high numbers nowadays. But you could just get the cape from the new Lando, put that on the old Lando figure, and you'll actually end up saving quite a bit of money. So speaking of Lando, the next question comes from Little Bricks. He says, how would you erase the 20th anniversary logo off the back of the Lando figure? It's a great idea, but I wouldn't have the first clue on how to attempt it without wrecking the figure. So before I get into this, I do want to say that this would not have the desired effect that I thought it would initially have. Someone brought up the point, like I just mentioned, that the brown on the Lando torso is not going to be the original brown. It's going to be the reddish brown that Lego uses now. So even if you got the print off of the back of the Lando figure, the torso would still not be the same one that we got back in the day. So that wouldn't really be necessary. But if you just mean erasing prints off of Lego pieces in general, honestly, you can just use a regular pencil eraser. It'll take a little bit of work. You'll probably have to sit there for a while doing it, but that's what I've used to do some erasing of prints. For example, I erased the prints off of the like emo kid with the spider from the CMF series to get dual molded light gray pants with black boots to put on my Rebel Friend figure. So I just used a regular pencil eraser. It took a while, but I got the prints off, and it doesn't do really too much to any damage to the figure. So yeah, there you go. Next question comes from SWAT Studios. He says, do you think the prequels are treated too harshly? Anyone who knows me would probably assume that I would say no to this, because I think I do my fair share of prequel bashing, and I do treat them pretty harshly. And I figured I would actually take this question to talk about something that I maybe don't talk about too much about the prequels. And you guys might appreciate this, because it's actually going to be something positive about the prequel. So all of you who don't like the fact that I bash the prequel so much, this is something you all will probably like to hear from me. So obviously, I think just as movies, the prequels were executed poorly, and they left a lot to be desired with the great just story behind it, the great backdrop, the idea of the locations, the ships, all this cool, all the pieces were there. I just don't think George did a good job at putting it all together and making something that came off like a good movie, which is disappointing, but it is what it is. We got the films, and the thing I actually wanted to highlight about the prequels in general is that while I don't think they are great movies, I think they do a fantastic job at inspiring creativity. That is probably one of the biggest things that are important to me when it comes to Star Wars. As someone who builds mocks pretty much all the time, and almost exclusively Star Wars mocks, is really important for Star Wars to be an avenue of my creativity. Most of the things that I do that are creative, it is stemming from Star Wars in some way. And I think Star Wars does a wonderful job at that. Think of, the fact that Lego Star Wars is probably the most popular toy in the world, and the mock community is huge. It fosters so much creativity. This world that George Lucas created has given us the ability to create our own artwork with Star Wars, tell our own stories within the world of Star Wars, and that's actually really important to me. And I will say that the prequels do just as good a job, if not a better job, than the original trilogy in inspiring creativity, because the worlds are so vast, the conflict is so huge, there are so many things that we can do within the world of Star Wars, and specifically the time period of the prequels. I mean, look at the huge phase of like clone bases that happen. And I know that's maybe sparked more by the Clone Wars cartoon, but obviously that is still an extension of the prequels and the prequel era. And I think that that's actually pretty freaking cool. The fact that these movies that came out like decades ago, we're still here analyzing them and trying to recreate them with Lego sets and Lego mocks. And that's actually just the coolest thing ever to me. And that's why, while I don't love the prequels as films, I still would love to do prequel mocks. Like, whenever I first got back into Lego Star Wars after my dark ages, I had 3 big mocks that I wanted to do. All of them were prequel mocks. I wanted to do Tatooine, the pod race specifically. I wanted to do Mustafar next, and then I wanted to finish off with Geonosis as kind of 3 big prequel mocks. And I think that the fact that all those mocks I wanted to do were all prequels was very telling of just how creatively inspiring the prequels can be. So for that, I am eternally grateful for George Lucas. He has given so much of my life purpose. And that sounds kind of deep to say, but I actually mean it. Like, this Lego Star Wars YouTube channel has become a big part of my life, and I love it. I have so much fun with it, and it really does inspire me every day to be creative. So I like that. There you go. There's my positive preachy moment on the prequels. Hope you guys appreciated that. But yeah, that's going to finish up the video today, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see your questions answered in this series, just leave it in the comment section below. Make sure it's Lego Star Wars or Lego Star Wars related, and then check back next week to see if you made the cut. Also, if you have a creative intro that you want to put at the front of one of these videos, I definitely urge you to do so. I would certainly appreciate it. Finally, like I always say, guys, if you like what I do, go and support the video by hitting the like button, support the channel by smashing the subscribe button, and I'll be back again very soon.